I don't want anybody, our allies, our people who are not of color, who are standing with us to be offended or thrown off by what I'm saying. Those of the allies that we have that are my close personal friends that know me, I don't really have to explain this to them, but I want to reiterate that the building up of one does not, like Janae said, mean the decreasing of another. So yes, we want black people to be sustainable for themselves. That does not mean that we are coming against white people or any other race or anything like that. We want to do what is necessary for us, and those that stand with us will believe in that as well, and it won't offend them, but I just want to iterate that that's where we're coming from on this.
And here, we're trying to, cultivate that. We want you guys to get those ideas, and even if you feel like you're in a helpless place now, you are ultimately like the most powerful person in your reality, in your universe.
We need more of us taking care of us.
Welcome back to Black Vision Network.
What's up, what's up, what's up?
We, here on Black Vision Network, we like to focus on healthcare, business, counseling, and education. And the overall umbrella that is under is self-love. Self-love. So in this week's episode, our self-love is focused on our health. And we'd like to give you guys our perspective of the problems that we see and how we'd like to go about fixing them.
Yes. So this is, like Janae said, the beginning of the healthcare series. So our last videos have kind of been centered on education and that pillar. So now we kind of want to switch gears and talk about healthcare. So like Janae said, we're going to talk about our upbringing, what we think the problems that the black community has to face as it pertains to healthcare. This series will have some interviews from some healthcare professionals. We'll have, like Janae said, our perspective, what we do to address health concerns that we've noticed, and much, much more. Let's get started. You want to kick it off?
Yeah, should we just start with like our background? So, I guess we'll go back to childhood. So, ever since I was a child, health has kind of like been on like the back burner. It wasn't like, I don't know. I feel like I still kind of go like that, except it's more on my own terms. But my family's health history, like a lot of black people, involves diabetes, heart disease, and stuff like that. And a lot of it, I noticed that there's a lot of overweight people in the family, and those tend to be the sicker ones. And so a lot of the times the normal habit or the habits that promote good health came a little too late into the game. And I think it's important, like right now, I want to be able to take advantage of the fact that I'm conscious of that, and I'm trying to take full advantage so that my body stays healthy now, and so I can live to like 150 years old. So yeah, I've definitely seen it, because I think personally my mom, she passed away in 2017, and she had poor health from the very beginning that I can remember. And being young, I didn't think about this stuff. I was naive and I was ignorant. But looking back, there's a lot of like small habits that we could have done in our everyday life that could have helped her to become more healthier and live a longer, happy life. So, I guess, yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, my background and upbringing was kind of interesting. I saw a lot of good and a lot of bad kind of all at the same time. So growing up, my mom, she did place an emphasis on eating vegetables. So pretty much almost every meal we had something green accompanied, well, at least for dinner. We at least had something green accompanied, whether it be salad or greens. Even when we would eat out, which would make me so mad, like we would go to Harold's or something, and then she would be like, wait for me to put on this pot of glory greens. And I'm like, but my wings gonna be cold. So yeah, but from a young age, she instilled that in me to know that vegetables, even though I don't like a lot of vegetables, that I need to have vegetables and fruit constantly and incorporated in my diet.
Yeah.
On the same side of that, one thing that kind of wasn't, I guess, really emphasized was exercise. So I was a very active kid. You know, I went out, ran outside, I played basketball in the alley. There was a baseball field where everybody in the neighborhood would go play baseball and things like that. So I was like out from like that old saying, well, when you go out, you can't come back in or else you gotta stay in. I made sure that I was out so I didn't have to come back in. So yeah, but on the flip side of that, in my community, I could see that just in the areas around me, the options that I had, I didn't really understand the magnitude of the problem until I got older. But noticing that where I grew up, you know, grocery stores were far. Grocery stores were far. They didn't have a lot of the things, basic things that you needed to eat healthy. And if you did, they were kind of, you know, not really advertised. But what was advertised was all the fast food in your area. So there was a Sharks, McDonald's, Harold's, all that stuff that we love to eat. It was very, very readily accessible. But the things that were good for you were not. I didn't understand the problem that presented, especially for black people in low-income neighborhoods, until I got older. And I didn't understand the importance of constantly working out, because the thing about eating right and working out is those two things work in tandem. So a lot of people, they struggle because they may put all their eggs in one basket and neglect the other one, or vice versa. And I kind of even grew up that way, to where I was like, well, I'm active, super active. I play sports year round. You know, if I want to eat wings consistently, then I'll be all right. And that started to catch up with me. Like after I got out of college, I was like, all right, it's back to the green vegetables for a little bit, because even with exercise, I'm starting to see some things that I don't like. So yeah, I guess that kind of sums up my background.
You just reminded me, like, I've always been into sports too. That was something that my parents really encouraged. And also, like, our house wasn't a peaceful household growing up, so we got into a lot of extracurricular activities just so we could be out of the house. So, yeah, I mean, exercise is good in a good way, especially if you're in school now, is to join sports leagues, even if you're bad. Like, there's always going to be a bad person, and there's always opportunity to get better. So, practice.
Yeah. So, kind of going off of the background, I kind of wanted to talk about, because like I said, you don't really fully understand a lot of things, a lot of these problems, like I said, till you get older, till you're out on your own, till you start reading and being educated on, well, hey, there's a different way to go about things. Because growing up, all you really know is your upbringing and your surroundings. So let's kind of talk about how we learned as we got older certain things that we grew up with that weren't necessarily right or good.
Yeah, so that kind of goes into mindset. I always think back to mindset, because everything starts with your mind. And a lot of habits have been ingrained into us, and they have become like our beliefs and our truths. So like a common one, because I used to be like this, is like,
I'm not that, I'm just big bone.
like, what? Like, it's like you're almost like rationalizing while you're unhealthy, and like you're like, oh, there's no help, there's no use. I was born like this, fat runs in the family. Like, no, the bad habits run in the family, and nobody actually runs in the family. So, like, I think it's important to recognize the thoughts that are holding you back. Like, when you're always putting excuses for why you're doing a certain thing on something else, it's important to realize that you have power to be like,
oh, maybe I shouldn't eat my fifth donut. Maybe I should.
You know, stop right here for, and like, okay, yeah. Like, it always means balance. Like, we're not saying stop doing what you like to do, but you need to find balance where it actually is healthy for you. And I think once you start doing it, it like starts to feel good, and you become addicted to feeling good. Like even like when it comes to food and exercise, like do what you're comfortable with first, and then you'll begin to grow and expand into more healthy habits. And so I think it all starts with your mind and listening to what your thoughts are saying. Like listening to yourself saying, "Oh, I know I shouldn't eat this whole pizza. I should probably get a salad or something." Or maybe you don't know enough about what is actually nutritious food or how to cook. Go read a book. Get on YouTube. Even if you don't like reading, you see visually. Get on YouTube. Find a friend who you already know who is good at cooking or has a healthy diet or knows how to exercise, and they can teach you this stuff. And there's no excuses. You just need to put in the action to go get it. Decide what you want and focus on it until you've made a way to get there.
And I think you brought up a really good point about not, trying to jump to the finish line from the start, but slow incremental things. Because one thing that I find a lot of people do is that they're like, okay, I want to go on a diet. I'm not going to eat anything I used to eat anymore, and I'm going to eat all of this. Mm-hmm. It's not very sustainable because, you'll do that for a day or two, and then you'll be like, oh, to hell with that, or I don't really need that.
I'm going to go. Any weight or anything.
Yeah, I didn't see the results I wanted in 2 days, so it's back to the old ways. Mm-hmm. So, like Janae said, it's a balance. Slowly get yourself there to where you say, okay, I didn't used to eat any vegetables at all. I'll make sure I incorporate vegetables in 1 meal per day. Mm-hmm. And then slowly, increase and go from there. So make sure it's sustainable, because if you try to, jump to the finish line right from the start, you'll strain yourself. You'll be like, I don't really want to do this. And all of the effort that you would have put into changing goes out the window.
Yeah. And it's like a small mind trick. Like, it can be transferred over into exercise. Like, for example, like, say you want to make a habit of going to the gym, and you're like, eventually I want to work my way up to like an hour, 5 days a week. Well, if you've never gone to the gym and you could do that hour, you're going to burn yourself out. Mm-hmm. So start with like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym for 5 minutes for 5 days. And that 5 minutes, like once you get there, you can be like, oh, wow, I did it. I did what I said I was going to do. And you're probably going to do more than you said you were going to do. And you'll start to build that tolerance. But it's nice to start small, because the tiny small steps always add up to each other, and they compound exponentially for your health and your wealth.
Yeah. So talking about things that we learned about as we grew up that may not have been right, I really learned the systematic ways in which the system keeps Black people in a cycle of not being healthy and doing poor things for their health. So going back to my upbringing, being around food deserts. Another big thing was Black people's distrust of medical professionals. And lastly, the media representation of Black health and stereotypes, reinforcing it through the media. So I know, I'll start with that one. So we all love, those comedies and movies, classic movies, Medea, Soul Food, Big Mama's House, The Clumps. All those movies that we love and we're just laughing at, but subliminally we're really affecting us and reinforcing the stereotype that all Black people are overweight, they all eat junk food all the time. And so we really didn't pay attention to that, but studies will show, psychology will show that those things affect you. So I think it was one specific scene about the clumps that really irritated me when I was watching it recently, is that they go to the buffet in the clumps too, I think, and they clear out the entire buffet. Family cleans out the entire buffet and leaves the salad.
Clump party of 6, please. Yes, and we are hungry.
And so as a kid, you laugh at that, you think it's hilarious, but then I'm really thinking, what about an impressionable young kid who's watching this and seeing that, ha ha ha, that's funny, you know, now I understand why when we go out to eat, we never get any green food, or green food is taboo, not really, doesn't taste good. Look, you know, let me get some chicken and eat it every day, and let me get some mac and cheese and eat that every day. That comfort food. And same thing with soul food. I think it was really hilarious when the Boondocks brought it up and say, nobody in soul food learned the lesson. They sat down and ate the same food that killed Big Mama after she died. And so those things are things that really bother me now, because we need to change the media stereotypes and narrative that are out there in every aspect of Black life. But one big thing that we're talking about now is healthcare. So I love to see representation on YouTube of Black fitness, Black meal prepping, and things of that nature, because these are the things I want impressionable young minds in the Black community to see, is what they should be doing, making that funny, making that well accepted, and not just having comfort food and overweight be what is known about Black people. So yeah. And then I think my next one was the distrust of medical professionals in the Black community. Even my family, I have a hard time getting certain people in my family to go to the doctor even when they know they don't feel well.
Oh, sorry, continue. I think that might be, like, that goes into a deeper problem that we want to
No,
fix.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna talk about that, but it goes both ways, because even as children we're taught, you know, well, you don't really need to go to the doctor unless you're dying. You know, certain things that we just ignore and put on the back burner until they can pile up is bad for us. But like Janae mentioned, there is a flip side to that. And we'll show some statistics here. But it's very ridiculous the amount of routine things that Black people go to the doctor for and they end up dying. So you kind of almost can't penalize us for having a distrust of medical professionals, because when we do go, I think I don't remember the percentage, but there's an alarming number of Black women who die during pregnancy from routine procedures. The amount of Black babies who die in medical professional care when cared for by a white doctor versus somebody who looks like them. And in general, the success rate of large procedures when somebody is operated on by a person, a white person, as opposed to somebody who looks like them. It's very alarming and very concerning, because we need to go to the doctor. We can't say, oh, if I'm having this chest pain, just ignore it. Because all that does is compound itself until it's heart attack, heart failure, stroke, things like that. But yeah, we need to be able to go to the doctor, but when we are going to the doctor, we're dying. And so those are systematic issues as well, where either we're going to the doctors and dying, or we don't have access to the medical attention we need. It's unaffordable, it's out of range, especially in low-income communities. Like even with coronavirus, I think we talked about it early on. The amount of testing centers that you see in low-income neighborhoods versus high-income neighborhoods, it's alarming. We don't have access to the things that we need. And that's also with food deserts as well, because you can't eat healthy and eat right, especially in a low-income neighborhood, if you have to drive 35 minutes to get there, and then all of the stuff that you need to eat healthy is outside of your budget. At that point, it's like, what do you do?
Get some Popeyes.
Exactly, because it's readily accessible. And it's a reason that they put those things that are bad for you to be readily accessible, and the things that are good for you not readily accessible. So these are the things that we created Black Vision Network for. We want to counteract these problems. We want to make change representation in healthcare in the Black community. Figure out why there's a alarming rate of Black people dying for routine procedures. A lot of that goes to Black representation in healthcare, increasing the number of Black people who are nurses, doctors, things of that nature. We need more of us taking care of us.
black-owned farmers market, black-owned grocery stores,
Mm-hmm.
black-owned versions of bodegas.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of other communities, not including the black community, have their own shelter and house grocery stores and
Yep.
farms and resources that they have where they can get the food they need and the resources they need. And here, we're trying to, cultivate that. We want you guys to get those ideas. And even if you feel like you're in a helpless place now, you are ultimately like the most powerful person in your reality, in your universe.
Mm-hmm.
And there's unlimited things that you can do, unlimited people you can meet and, help. Like, you have the capability to help somebody else. And you have to love yourself first so that you can love other people. And yeah, I think it's time to, claim our own health. It's time to take back our own, our own reality. Because, like, honestly, we can say that, oh, well, the world didn't set it up for us. But, like, okay, let's set it up for ourselves. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the buck stops here. Is that what you say all the time?
Yes, it is very real.
Yeah, like, we gotta it's time to claim our own places. It's time to open up our grocery stores. It's time to cultivate our children in healthy lifestyle habits and healthy exercise habits. And you can start today.
Yeah, and like Janae said, there's nobody coming to save us. So now with this increased knowledge that we have, we understand that it's systematic racism. This is what the system, as far as I'm concerned, is working as it was intended to be when it comes to not allowing us access to the necessary health care, food, education, all of the counseling, all of the areas that we are looking to help improve. We understand that the system is doing exactly what it's meant to do. What we want to do is say, nobody is coming to save us, so we need to save ourselves. We need to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. And like Janae said, reinvest and invest in ourselves. Create the things that are missing in our communities for ourselves. Black grocery stores, black farmers market, black people in healthcare, black pharmacies, all of these things that we've definitely already tried to do as a black community. We need to create a lasting presence in these areas.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't want to go too long on the subject, but we just wanted to introduce to you Black Vision Network stand as it relates to healthcare, what we believe the issues are. And so what we'll be going to do from here is talk about ways that we are going to improve, things that we're doing right now. We won't talk to you too much about our plans until they're actually concrete, because we want to do it rather than say it. But we'll get some healthcare professionals on here as well who can speak to people in the industry, who can see exactly what's going on and what things we may be able to do to improve right here, right now.
I want everybody to come at this from an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity mindset, because I feel like 99% of the world operates on the scarcity mindset, whereas if I win, you lose. If you win, I lose. And the universe is ready to God, Allah, all intelligence is ready to supply to us everything that we need. And we can all be out here winning. Like, in the perfect world, you can say you don't see color, but we can see color and acknowledge it and appreciate the differences that we bring. And, have that abundance mindset where if you always in the giving mindset, you're always going to have something to give. And if you're in the needing mindset, you're always going to have something to need. And so when you feel like you're in that need mindset, recognize your thoughts, recognize it doesn't really feel good, and switch it to the abundance mindset of that you'll always have more than you need, and there's always going to be resources for you. And things will begin to unfold, and you'll become healthy, wealthy, and we'll start, building our community up and making it sustainable.
Absolutely. And kind of like what you said is, I don't want anybody, our allies, our people who are not of color, who are standing with us, to be offended or thrown off by what I'm saying. Those of the allies that we have that are my close personal friends that know me, I don't really have to explain this to them, but I want to reiterate that the building up of one does not, like Janae said, mean the decreasing of another. So yes, we want black people to be sustainable for themselves. That does not mean that we are coming against white people or any other race or anything like that. We want to do what is necessary for us, and those that stand with us will believe in that as well, and it won't offend them. But I just want to iterate that that's where we're coming from on this.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry guys, don't forget to love yourself.
yes, and like this video, comment, subscribe. Comment what you think about the Black experience as it relates to healthcare. What things you do, how you feel about how we're portrayed in the media, anything. Feel free to vent under our comments, and subscribe to the journey, like this video.
And share it.
Yes,
Spread the conversation.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I said, welcome to the journey.
Welcome.
Peace. That's a terrible angle for me. What does that mean? I was
Like
good
this.
from that angle.
See nostrils.
What does it look like?
Yeah. It was booger on me.